Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we are learning Masechta Zevachim, Daf Nun Tes. We are going to begin on the bottom of Nun Chesed Beis, the second line from the bottom. So we began our new parak yesterday, which discussed when it comes to Kodesh Kedoshim, which we know the Shechita is supposed to be done in the north. So what's the din about doing the Shechita on the Mizbeach itself? So our Mishnah cited two opinions. The opinion of Rav Yossi that said you could shecht anywhere in the Mizbeach. Anywhere, it doesn't matter. And we ended up establishing exactly where the Mizbeach must be located in order for that actually to work. So we said it must be that the Mizbeach is toward the northern side. And then we had the opinion of Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, who says half of the Mizbeach yes, and half of the Mizbeach no. And basically it's based on the Gzeres HaKosav that says, V'zavachtolav, you can shech the oila and the shlomim. So it must be that obviously shlomim, which is kachim kalim, can be shechted anywhere in the Azara. So it must be telling you that it's divided, half for the oila, half for the shlomim. So that's how he ends up learning it. So as I mentioned, yesterday's daf was discussing where exactly the Mizbeach was. So there are those that will say, because, and this is not disputed, that the opening to get into the Heichel, to the Kodesh Kedoshim, that opening is 10 amos, and it was done deliberately in the middle. The Kodesh Kedoshim was mamish right in the center. It looks like a T, but the Olam room had an opening of 10, 5 amos toward the north, 5 toward the south. And the question was, where exactly was this Mizbeach? So we saw one opinion, the Mizbeach, which was 32 amos, actually was right in the middle. And therefore it was 11 amos beyond that opening, the opening of 10, and then 11 in the south. And the question is, do we allow you, according to these opinions, maybe you could be shechting keneged a Pesach, and maybe we say the entire Pesach is considered like the same thing, so therefore even though it's the southern part, maybe it's like the northern part. These are all things that we discuss. So let's see some more Gemara. For Rav Shrabi Yomer, Hamad Rav Yosef Glili. Actually, this is in accordance to Rav Yosef Glili. The sign Rav Yosef Glili Yomer, Mitaych Shnemar, the pasuk does say, and let's get this pasuk down. It says, "V'nosatas akiyur," that the laver, which we talked about before, the kiyur and the kanoi and the base, which is made out of necheshes, where was it? It was placed in the bein oil moed uvein hamizbeach, between the oil moed and the mizbeach. And of course, v'nosata shamayim, that's where the water was. That's where they would have to do the washing of their hands and feet. So what do we learn out from here? V'goymer, v'es, mizbach oila v'goymer. So what exactly is this pasuk? The pasuk says, there's mizbach oila, some pesach mishkan oil moed, Vayal Allah v'sa oil v'sa mincha. So they brought the oil and the mincha there. Kasher siva Hashem es Moshe. Okay, so these are a couple of psukim that apparently we're going to use to teach us a little bit more about where everything was situated. So the Gemara says, Mizbeach b'Pesach o moed. It says that the Mizbeach, Ves Mizbach Oila was in the Pesach Omoed. So it says clearly the Mizbech was by the opening of the Omoed, which you said is this 10 amos area. V'lo Kiyur b'Pesach Omoed. However, the Kiyur doesn't say that the Kiyur was Pesach Omoed. So Heichen Haya Neisnan. So if that's the case, where was it placed? Where was this Kiyur? Bein Ha'ulam u'Mizbech. As it says, that was between the Ol Moed and the Mizbeach, Moshoich Kima Klapi Adarim. It was a little bit toward the south. So Mike Sober, what exactly is he saying over here? Now, ik savar kuli mizbech bedaram koi. If the entire mizbech is all in the south, so nukmi mekaisel heichel l'daram. So why don't we say that it was placed from the kosel of the heichel in the south, bein ulam mizbech. V'inamik savar kedushas heichel ulam chadahi, as we said, that even if you want to tell me that that 10 almo space is considered to be like one, so nukmi mekaisel ulam l'daram. So let's say it's half and half. So nukmi mekaisel heichel l'daram ben ulam mizbech. V'inami ksav kedushas ha'ulam beheichel chadahi nukmi mekaisel ulam l'daram ben ulam mizbech. El lav. So since those weren't situations that we could allow, is mishim ksav kulim mizbech b'safin, and the entire mizbech is actually in the north. So kinami mukmasla. So therefore, again, we could say the same thing as like the sheet of Rabbi Yossi. Okay, so let's maybe see some Rashis over here. So, where do we put this? Where did the kier go? So we said it's by the Kaisel Heichel L'Darim, being Ulmazbech in the south. Okay. So, says Rashi, Nimsa Shenu Keneged Mizbeach Klal. It must be that it was not Keneged the Mizbeach at all. It was not, the kier was not next to the Mizbeach. Ela Kebein Oil Moed Mizbeach. It was Keilu, like it was between the Oil Moed and the Mizbeach, but it was actually on the southern part. So it wasn't like right next to the Mizbeach. It was more in the southern part, because the Mizbeach must have been all the way in the north. Because we're saying, otherwise, if the Mizbech was not all the way in the north, then how do we understand that it was all the way in the south, and it was not mamish, it was not Keneged Pesach Omoid? So the only way it's not Keneged Pesach Omoid with this opening is if it was all the way in the south, and it's not Keneged the Mizbech. So, let's look in Rashi. So, Demai Ksavar, what does he hold? Shelo Kayim es HaMikra Shekasu ben Oil Moed ben Mizbeach. That he says that it was between Oil Moed and Mizbeach. So equally B'darom, if the entire Mizbeach was in the south, says Rashi, Harbi min HaMizbeach Yesh B'darom. So then obviously a lot of the Mizbeach is in the south. Keneged Heichel Shelo Keneged Pesach V'Haylo Nostim Shom. So he could have put it over there, right? Because we're saying that it was not Keneged Pesach, so it could have been between the Oel Moed and the Mizbeach, and all the way in the south, and it was not Keneged the Pesach. So that shouldn't be a problem. So we say, okay, so maybe Mekaiseli Heichel L'Darim, Koimer Maskel Kaisel Pesach HaHeichel, when you begin the wall, the opening of the Heichel, list the L'Darim, where it closes in the south, the Haidu bein Pesach Ulam or Mizbeach, Keneged Heichel Shepesach Ulam Oidif al Shel Heichel Hey Amos L'Darim, because the opening of the Ulam was 5 more. So Ina Miksav Kedushas Ulam Heichel Chadahi, who Pesach Ulam, and the Pesach of the Ulam is like the Pesach of the Heichel, and therefore it had to be Keneged that part also. So it wasn't just the opening, but also because the extra 5 also was accumulated as well as part of the cheshbon, that it can't be connected that. So akati kebein ha'ulam mizbech, the given the kaisel ulam ki kaisel heichel karle bein ulam moed mizbech mikami kroi shaper. Let's say it was half and half. Yeshlo tes zayin alma bedarim, because the mizbeach was 32, so 16 is in the south. So therefore, it's Semihen Hey Amos Shel Pesach, and 5 of them is the Pesach. So Adayin Yeshlo Makim Yud Alf Alma. There's still another 11 Amos from, if it's 16, and the opening is 5, so there's still 11 Amos where it could have been put over there, between there. The Inam Miksav Kedushas Ulam VeHeichel Chadahi. And if you had to move it even further south from there, so you still have another 6 amos, right? Yesham makum vav amos. So obviously, the fact that it says it had to be all the way in the south, Elav mishum deksaver kuli mizbeach b'savin koi. V'droimo shel mizbeach, and the southern part of the mizbeach kul lifnei Pesach. The whole thing was lifnei Pesach. V'im haya noiser keneged mizbeach klal nimsa masik ben mizbeach Pesach. And if you put it between the mizbeach and the Pesach, so it's a separation. So it must be that it's really in the north. So therefore, we should be able to establish it like the shita of like Rabbi Yossi Glili. Elalam yishum niksaver kulim mizbeach b'safin. Kinami mukmas lo mekaisel heichel u'tzafin havile ben ulam mizbeach. So if you would have placed it between the kaisel, the heichel to the north, then it would be between the ulam and the mizbeach, which we said is a problem. Because it would be like a hefsek. So why don't we put it instead from the kosel of the ulam north, bebein ulam umizbeach. So I'm across sfaina sheit safan panoi mikalim. It says sfaina, so it has to be clean from any kalim. You're not allowed to have kalim over there. It says so you can't put it in the north because it says it has to be clean from kalim. So Mantana the Polyglot of Yossi Hagui, who argues, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, he decided, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, Aimer, Svaina, when it says the north, Shehit Safin Panoi Mekulim, has to be completely empty, V'afil in the Mizbeach, even from the Mizbeach itself. Which therefore, according to him, obviously, he's saying that the Mizbeach cannot be in the north either. Okay, because you need all that area, apparently, for the Shechita, for the Kachik Kedoshim. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Omarav, Mizbeach shenifgam. Let's say you have a Mizbeach and there's a pigima on the Mizbeach. There's some type of break or something in it. Kol kadoshim sheshachtu sham psuin. So if you did shechita there, it doesn't work. It has to be a proper Mizbeach, which is complete. Umikra hayabi adenu v'shachachnuhu. We had a pasuk to substantiate that, but we forgot it. Kisolik Rav Kahana Ashke, Rav Shimon Berebi, Tikayim Mishim Mishim Rabbi Yossi, Menayin Lo Mizbeach Shenifgam B'chol Shekol Hagadashim Sheshachtu Sham Psuin. We couldn't figure out what's the pasuk. We finally got it, and it's Shnemer because the pasuk says V'zavachta Laves Ol Secha V'Yishlomecha, which is the pasuk we've seen before. That when it comes to this shechting, you can shecht on the Mizbeach, which is we said. How much of the Mizbeach? The oila as well as a shlomim, which whether or not a shlomim doesn't seem like a big chiddush, we said maybe there's a chiddush over there because maybe you can't do the shlomim over there because the oila is more has a narrower amount of space, is not as many options. So maybe we won't allow a shlomim. Okay. So v'chi alav ata zaveach. I don't understand. Is that where you taka do the shchita? Ela kashu sholim v'lo kashu chaser. It just means that it's only when it's sholim. That's what it means, and not when it's missing. That's all it's come to tell you. It has to be a love. It has to be a complete mizbeach for it to be good. Amar hainu kra. This is the pasuk dishtamid lerav. This was the pasuk that was forgotten. Rav Yochanan Amar echad zev psuin. Says Rashi, echad zev. Says Rashi, bein shenishchatu b'shas pigima. So whether you shechted it at the time that there was already pagam, bein shenishchatu acher tikunoi, even after you fixed it, psuin. Kol hakadoshim shahayu kedushin b'oiser shah. Anything was kodesh at that time, lafi shenira v'nidche, because it was fit at the time to do, but you didn't because it got ruined. V'ksaver bali chaim nidchen kishchutin. He holds that if the animal is a bal, even though it's a bali chaim, so can bali chaim be nidchen? So according to this, bali chaim nidchen. Therefore, the fact that it was fit to have been shechted, and then it developed a pigima on the mizbeach, so then we say now it's puzzle. because it's a nirva nidche. Okay. So b'may k'mifli, Rav savar Bali Chaim ein nidchen, Rav Yochanan savar Bali Chaim nidchen. So again, the fact that it has a pagam and then you do the shechita is definitely not allowed. The question is while there was a Bal Chai and it was nira, but then it developed a pagam, so it's nidche, do we say that's a dichui? So meisvei kol chadashim shahayu, all the mizbeach all the kachim that were there, ad shlin nivna hamizbeach, until the mizbeach was built. Says Rashi, mashma kaidim shlo banuhu b'nei hagoyla, before the b'nei goyla built the mizbeach. Let's say you have kadashim before v'yachach nivna mizbeach, and then you built it soon. So it says that it's possible, which is mashma. It sounds like Bali Chaim or nidchen. Nivna. So nivna dechuyim yikar ninhu. So chayra, this is a kasha. So he said no. The fact that you needed to build it, it was the dechuyim miyikara. It wasn't nira v'nidcha. It's a case of nira miyikara, nidcha miyikara. Okay. Ella ad shloi neheres hamizbeach. So what is that? Says Rashi. Mashma b'yamei Nebuchadnezzar hoya. So this was in the days of Nebuchadnezzar that he ruined the mizbeach. So ela anshul neheras hamizbeach, neheras ha izkoin lahu. So says Rashi, anshul nivna by sheni, until the second base of Midrash was built, ubshita the psuin. Right? Obviously it's possible. The gabi mumin katani hazakin ubechayla v'hamizumam zuham. So in that case, el anshlo neheras hamizbeach, neheras ha'izkoin lahu, el anshlo nifkan hamizbeach, v'yachach nifkan hamizbeach psuin. So this is the kasha we see before. This is the time of the Nebuchadnezzar, before it developed a pagam. V'yachach nifkan mizbeach psuin. So again, v'loy terutzi kamatartzis. When we just say ema shenishchatu, it was already shechted, right? So it's talking about maybe it wasn't Bal Chai. Rav Gidol Marav mizbeach shenekar maktirin kataris mim kaimoi. We see, says Rashi, b'mizbeach b'nimi kam. We're talking about in the inner mizbeach. It says there's no difference between the outer one and the inner one. The kasha to Rav. This is actually going to be a kasha on Rav, who said that Bali Chaim are edo nidchen. So apparently we see taka that Bali Chaim are nidchen, because we said before kol kalim sheshachtim sham psuin, right? So it says it's possible. So again, that l'chayr should be is a kash on him. Is b'ech sheneker martiyon kataris mikaymoi kedema rava moida hayi Rabbi Huda b'damim hachanami moida Rav b'damim. So what does that mean? Debe'inan mizbeach. When it comes to the din of damim, then it taka needs a mizbeach. However, not necessarily when we're talking about kedushas haguf. Okay, so the whole question: are bali damim also nidchen? Okay, so my Rabbi Huda the Sanya b'yoimahu kiddush hamelech tocha chatzer. So this is in Malachim Aleph. It says on that day kiddush hamelech as tocha chatzer. He sanctified the inner part of the courtyard. Ashulefnei beis Hashem. He also sham es ha'oila v'es ha'mincha. There we bring the karbanos. There's chelvei hashlamim, the fats of the carbon shlamim. Ki mizbach hanachayches, on the outer copper mizbeach hashlefnei Hashem. Katon mehechel es ha'oila v'es ha'mincha v'es chelvei hashlam. Okay, that's the pasuk. So what do we see from this pasuk? So says the Gemara. Bayomahu kiddush hamelech toicha chatzer v'gaimer. Ki mizbach katon mehechel devarim kiksavim divrei Yehuda. So he says it's just as it sounds. Says Rashi, chikidish es haritzba kula that he was Makadosh the entire floor, he sanctified it. L'shem Mizbech L'Hakter Oleha, in order to be Makdir on it. L'fi Shahim Mizbech Katan Mehechel Oilus L'Shlomim Shekrivu L'Chanuchas Mizbech. V'yakim L'Kamon Rabbi Huda Hachi Mash Makra Ki Mizbech Avonim Asher Tachas Mizbech L'Chayshis Katan Hoya. That the stone, the Mizbech Avonim, which were underneath the Mizbech and the Chayshis, was small. Okay, so Devarim Kichsavam, Dear Yehuda, Armali Rabbi Yosi. So it says Rashi, "Ben Mizbech she'asa Moshe ben Midbar shahei ben Givoin," regarding the Mizbech in the days of Moshe Rabbeinu was in the Midbar, which is also in the times of Noivin Divoin. Says the Gemara, Armali Rabbi Yosi, as we continue to Samach Testament Beis, look right now, the pasuk says somewhere. The pasuk says, down it is, in Malachim also, Vayelech HaMelech Givoina. So the king went to Givoin, was Boyach Sham to bring karbonos. Kihi Habama Hagdayla. There was a bama, and he brought 1,000 oilos, 1,000 karbonos. Yal Shloimo al Mizbechahu. So Shlomo Melech brought 1,000 carbon oilos there. So the ilu b'bayis olamim, when it comes to the actual Beis Hamikdash, when it comes to there, who oimer, the pasuk says not that. The pasuk says, and I'll say the whole pasuk again. Also, Malachim Al Ches, where he actually built the first Beis Hamikdash, the Yizbach Shlomo as Zevach HaShlomim, that he brought sacrifices, Bakar Esrim Ushnaim, 22 cattle, Esrim Ushnaim Elef, 22,000. But Tzayin, with regard to sheep, Meya the Esrim Elef, 1,025. V'yechanchu as Beis Hashem HaMelech v'chol b'nei Yisrael. So then he dedicated the Beis Hamikdash there with all these different karbonos. So it says again, v'yizbach shlomo zevach hashlomim asher zevach Hashem bakar 22,000 ukshiatim agil cheshmin oilus. When you calculate all the oilus that Shlomo Melech brought, or minyan amos, and how big everything was, zeh godom zeh. It must be that this was bigger than the other one, right? So how could you tell me? So you had one mizbeach in the times of Noiv and Givoin, and we say, oh, this other one, it has to be that this one is bigger, right? Why? It says Rashi, Shahim mizbeach avonim shel Shlomo oidef olav. Zeh shel Shlomo gadol mishel Moshe. Shlomo Melech's mizbeach in the time of the Beis Hamikdash was bigger than the one in the times of Moshe, which was in the time of Givoin. Shari mizbeach shel Moshe ksiv bei hey amos oirich. It says clearly that it was 5 amos in length, the hey amos roichim, and 5 in width. Semihem makam hakarbonos amol chotzad umakam hilach raga gohanim. So if you end up calculating, there wasn't a ton amount of space, right? We're not going to see this whole Rashi. However, in the times of Shlomo HaMelech, right, it says, Umizbeach she'asa Shlomo hayim makom habaracha chaf al chaf. It was 20 by 20, not 5 by 5. Okay, so obviously there was more space. Okay, which is 20 by 20, Hari Dalad Meos Elef, which is equivalent to 400 square amos. Okay, so obviously it was bigger. Elomahu Katan Mehechel. What does it mean that it was smaller? Because it was certainly bigger. Ka'adam ha'oyim chaveru, just like a person says, Pliny nanasu upasal avoida. You say this guy's short, right? And he's puzzled, but it's just you're really not puzzling him by saying this, right? It's just a figure of speech. Doesn't really mean it, right? It says Rashi, Lav maskana the anamaimer, or Rav Yosi kaimer la va'osu pliny pasal avoida v'hu karlo nenes. Rav Yehuda shaper kaimer Rav Yosi. So Rabbi Yehuda Tamei, the Yomer Mizbeach Shasa Moshe the Mizbech that Moshe made, Gadol Haya. It was actually quite big, according to this opinion. It says Rashi, K'shatu Megil Cheshbon Oilos U'Minyan Amos Nimsa Shel Shlomo Katan Lefi Hatzarech. Actually, you could calculate it with smaller, and Moshe's was bigger. Desanya Chamish Amos Oyam Chamish Amos Reichev Devarim Kiksav and Devar Rabbi Yosi. He says that it was 5 by 5. Rabbi Yehuda Eimer Nemerkan, the pasuk says Ravua, that is square. Nemer Holon Ravua. So Mal Holon Memsiasai, from the middle Hayamoided, Avkan Memsiaso Hayamoided, that we measure it from the middle. So Bahasamanol and Dechziv Ariel Shtaim Esri Alma. So referring to the Ariel, which is Makom Baruch Hashem Mizbech, which is the place where the burning of the fires was actually 12. It says L'chol Ruach in all directions. So in Yud Beis al Yud Beis, maybe it's 12 by 12. So Kashu Omer El Arbas Revoiv Melamed Sheba Emsahu Moided. We measure from the middle. Rav Yosi Ki Gomer Gzer Shava B'Goivahu the Gomer. Only the height. The Sanya V'Sholosh Amos Kamasai. 3 amos is its height. Devarim Kiksam to Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Yosi Omer Nemerkan Ravua V'Nemer Holon Ravua. Malon Gavoyi Pishnayim Ka'arko, that its height is twice that of its length. Avkan Pishnayim Ka'arkoi. Omer Rabbi Yehuda V'Loikvar Nemer Rabbi Asachatzer Mea Alma V'Kama Chamish Amois V'Gomer Esher Koyin Oimid Al Gama Mizbeach. He's standing on the Mizbeach. V'Avoid B'Yado V'Chol Am Roy Noisum B'Chutz, and everyone's on the sees him from the outside. That doesn't make sense. How could he do that, right? Says Rashi, Shehi Koyin B'Roy Shamizbeach V'Avoid B'Yadoi. So Amul Rabbi Yosef Lokvar Nemar Ves Kalina Chatzer Ves Masach Shar Chatzer Asher Al Mishkan Vel Mizbeach Ma Mishkan Yud Amos Al Mizbeach Yud Amos. So it's only 10. Yomer Kalayim Chamish Esrei Alma, and it says that the Kalayim was 15. Al Hakatef. So Matamud Omer Hey Amos Misfas Mizbeach Mala, 5 from the edge of Mizbeach and up. Matamud Omer. So what does that come to teach us? V'Sholosh Amos Kamasai, the 3 amos in height. Misfas Saiviv Umal, it's from the Saiviv up. Rabbi Yehuda Gomer Ki Gomer Gzer Shava Barachvahu the Gomer. He actually learns out from the width. Rabbi Yehuda Hakamaschazi Kayin. So you can see the Kayin right from outside. No, he the Kayin Mischazi Abodishiyadoi Lo Mischazi. It's true that maybe you could see the Kayin, but the avoda in his hands you can't see. So Bishon Rabbi Yehuda Hanan Sev Kiddush. Rabbi Yosef my Kiddush Lahamid Ba Mizbeach. Lahamid Ba Mizbeach. Says Rashi, my Kiddush El Teicha Chatzer Mishani Kitchul L'Shem Azara Lahamid Ba Mizbeach Avonim. So Bishon Rabbi Yosef Hanan Sev Katan El Rabbi Yehuda my Katan Hachikam Mizbeach Avonim Shasa Shlomo the Mizbeach which Shlomo Melech made Tachas Mizbeach HaChayshes Katan Hu. So Mamaitim Mifni Mar Savar done in Chutz Mechutz and done in Chutz Mifnim, and Mar Savar done in Kli Makli and done in Kli Mabinyan. We're going to stop there, but we'll have to understand this a little bit better. Let's look in Rashi. So B'mai Kimiflagi Rav Yosi the Gomer Ravu Mizbeach Hazav. He learns out from the golden Mizbeach. Rabbi Yehuda he learns out from Yecheskel. So Kli Makli Mizbeach Nechayshes V'Hazav Kalimhu. So you can learn out one Mizbeach to the other. And the other one says, no, you don't learn out from Kli to Kli, but rather it makes more sense to learn Chutz Mechutz. Okay, let's maybe see a few questions. I kind of went a little bit quicker than I should have. Maybe we'll get a few questions to explain some stuff. Question 3. Ksiv Mizbach Adama Tasali was Avatala was Losach V'Shlomecha. Elu Shnei Dinim Nilmadu Min HaPasek Hazeh B'Sugyin. So first of all, we learn that on the Mizbeach, it could be kosher to do the Shechita of the Oil Shalom. We saw that already. Also, the Mizbeach, which has a Pagam, all the Kachim that Shech there is possible. Question 4. Kama Haya Gevoya Mizbeach Achitza Shasa Moshe. How tall was the outer Mizbeach that Moshe made? So according to, it says Usholosh Amos Kamasai. And Rabbi Yehuda says Devarim Kiksabim. So According to him, it's clear that that's how big it was. It was 3 amos high. Yossi says no, it's actually Eser amos because Malahon Yud amos of Mizbeach Yud amos. Okay. Because it says Ves Kali Achatzer Ves Masach Shar Achatzer Shel Mishkan Vel Mizbeach. So the Mishkan was 10. The Mishkan we know is 10 amos. So the Mizbeach was also 10 amos. Question TA9. Mizbeach shenifka ma din hakadshim shahayu sham onishchad b'shas pegima. Okay, so that we had already. So this is TA9. So definitely it's going to be, if it was shechted in that way, then it's definitely going to be puzzle. Okay, there's no question about that. That's TA9. However, let's say it was there, so then it's a machokus if whether you hold yesh dichoi bali chayim nidchin or ein nidchin. So that is the machlokas. Okay, that's TA9. Question TA10. B'yoyim hahu kiddush hamelech toicha chatzer. Right, that we quoted this pasuk. It says that he was mekadosh toich hachatzer. Shlomo Melech was mekadosh. So, Lamai Kiddush, what exactly, that's what it says. Let's see the whole pasuk again, where it says, Dechsiv Kiddush. Bayomahu Kiddush HaMelech es el Toicha Chatzer, right? On that day, he was Mekadosh, the Toicha Chatzer, Asher Lefnei Beis Hashem. So, the question is, what does that mean? What is that? What did he sanctify? Okay? So, we have two answers. Either l'chan man de'omer lak Torah l'shem mizbeach, or l'hamid ba mizbeach, that he established mizbeach in that location. When it says that he was sanctified toicha chatzer, so it means that he placed the mizbeach there. Just get these words right. So make sure we got everything good. So this pasuk is also here on Nun Testament Aleph, which says that Bayoyim hahu kidesh hamelech toiche chatzer. Ki mizbach shasashoma katan, etc. Right. So according to this, chadman de'omer lahak Torah l'shem mizbeach. So it's for the sake of being haktir karbonos, for the sake of a mizbeach, or that they put the mizbeach there. Okay. Fine. That's TA10. Question TB12. Rabbi Yosef Glili Omer Hakir Hayanoisim Ben Olam Lamazbeach Mashach Kimel Klapi Daram Heichen Hayamazbeach Rabbi Yosef Glili. I wrote with Safan Shein Makom B'Mazbeach Shehu B'Dalim. Okay, so it's basically that's the answer. We said over here that this was a raya. Let's get this down. Elav mishum diksaver kuli mizbech but safli. Right, that's basically the whole answer. I think that's all they want. So this was again a raya that maybe Taka could have been like him as well. So that's Nun Testament Aleph. But Yomo Kiddush Hamelech Toicha Chatzer Lamai Kiddush. So the same thing. Either let me just put this over here. TB13. What did he sanctify? So either, just make sure we get the language right. Either the Haktaira, right, or Makom Mizbeach, which is definitely Hamid Ba Mizbeach, or L'akatayru l'shem mizbeach. Ad kan.